Good evening. Well, it's the end of the trapping season, and it's the start of a new trapping season. So what I like to do is, as soon as I pull all my gear, get it inspected, get things checked out, make sure everything works. But tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit about drags. I'm actually getting ready to build a couple of drags, so I'll kind of walk you through how I do it. These drags are wolf drags. I've got a couple of examples of some different drags here that I'd like to share with you. Both good drags. One is one that I've purchased in the past. It comes with a couple of traps that I bought. It comes actually with a Minnesota brand 750. I order them through Minnesota Trapping Supply, or I get them for Granite View Sports here in Delta Junction. If you need anything, go see Cody. Trapping wise, he can get it if he doesn't already have it in stock. So, but I want to real quick kind of go over these drags, go over what kind of parts you're going to need. These drags are very simple to make. I bend them myself. Everything how I bend them is very crudely, honestly. If you have a rebar bender, it works much better. But I'll show you how I bend them. It's a poor man bender, and it's just a piece of pipe and a hitch that receiver that I welded up a couple of pieces of pipe onto, and it works perfect. So it's easy to build if you got a little bit of welding skills and an old hitch laying around and a couple pieces of pipe. It works perfect. So let me put this camera down, show you kind of what I got, go over how I build them, and show you the material that you're going to need to build your own if that's what you choose to do. So hang on just 1 second. Alright, like I said, I got a couple of drags. I'll kind of show you the difference between the two. This one is the Minnesota brand drag that comes on their MB 750. This one currently has a swivel and a piece of chain and a quick link on it. When you buy the 750, the way I buy them sometimes is with the drag already on them. What I do is I cut the drag off in case I ever want to use that trap and stake it solid. So I'll cut a couple links down, put a quick link on, and if I ever want the drag back on there, just use the quick link, hook it right back into the chain. You're set. Okay. Parts of the drag. Obviously, you got the shaft, you got the hook, and this piece up here. What that is for is actually to keep the chain from wrapping around the drag. If wolf spins or whatever, gets that chain wrapped, that chain will kind of fall off to the side and come back down the hook. So when he starts pulling again, he's not pulling the drag this way and not hooking into anything. There's more of a chance anyways that he's going to be pulling it this way and hooking into brush. You can see this drag here. This is the one that I make. You can see there's quite a bit of a difference. I make mine a little bit bigger, and I'll explain why. So with the Minnesota brand, they're using a 1 foot piece of rebar. Hooks are about 4 inches or so, and you got about 8 inches right there going across. And then they use a 10-inch piece right there for the shaft, for the for connecting your chain and everything to the drag. These things do work. Okay, don't get me wrong. I like them early in the season. I don't necessarily like them later in the season, and I'll tell you why. Out where I trap, you get a lot of crusty snow up here, especially in the interior where the wind blows and everything else. Sometimes that crust will be 8, 9, 10 inches deep. Well, when you hook into a wolf, it doesn't drag like this. what happens is it digs in and this thing rotates. And if you only have, you know, 4 inches here, well, three and a half inches between here and here, you're digging down into that crust, but it's easier to keep breaking that crust and moving this drag. This one that I build, I use a 2-foot piece of rebar. My tangs are 6 inches long. This is a foot across, and I use a 1-foot piece for the shaft. I also do the same thing to keep the chain from wrapping around the drag. Put that guard up at the top there. But with this, what happens is as it rotates and digs in, you've got much more space here. You got 4, 5, 6 inches, and that crusty snow, it hooks into that snow a little bit better, and even if there's just a little bit of brush down below that crust, this thing will grab it into that little bit of brush, and it'll hold that wolf solid. This one, you'll hook into that crust, but you may not get any of the brush, so it's going to go a little bit further. I did hook into an 80-pound female this year with one of these drags. She didn't go far. Okay, she went maybe 100 yards. Had this at the top of a ridge. This hooked into a little bit of brush up at the ridge where the wind had blown everything clear, and there was a little bit of crust in that brush. It took her forever to get out of that brush. She hung up twice, and the only way she got the drag out the second time is she chewed every piece of brush off right down to the ground to get this thing to come loose. And then she went another 80 yards, mainly downhill, and hung up at the bottom of the hill in some other crusty snow. When I got to her, the drag was just like this. It was just hooked into snow. It was not hooked into any brush whatsoever. When I pulled up on the sled, I was up towards the top of the hill. She saw me, stood up, tried to take off, didn't go anywhere. All right. She maybe moved this thing 3-4 inches the entire time that I dealt with her. So it hooks solid. It does great. The other thing that I do, that I want to point out that I do here, these traps come with 10 feet of chain. Okay, and if you look in the Alaska Wolf Trapping book, the manual, it says you want 10 feet of chain. Okay, that's great. I use 20. Okay, what that does is it moves this further away from the wolf. Okay, there's more of a chance that long arc in that chain is going to wrap around a tree and this thing's going to hook, or it's going to wrap into some brush and this thing is going to hook into that brush, and that wolf is going to chew whatever she can chew or he can chew right around where he's stuck. Okay, he's not going to go back 20 feet and try and chew the brush up to get this thing loose. It's not going to be able to find this. Some people say that 20 feet is a little bit too far. You know, you can give a wolf a running start and maybe pop the chain or pop a swivel. Of course, like everybody else, I weld all my swivels shut. Okay, I don't just crimp them. I weld them. That's only smart. The thing is, with the 20 feet of chain hooked onto this right now is probably 9-10 pounds. Okay, add 20 feet of number 2 chain, you're increasing the weight by another 10 pounds. So that, coupled with the weight of the trap, whether you're trapping with a number 9 Bridger, or 750 even, that's still a lot of weight for that wolf to start pulling, and it definitely slows them down. So what I use, okay, for the guard, I use a 14-inch piece of 1/4-inch solid rod. Okay, I buy that by the 10-foot length, cut it into 14-inch pieces, and it works great. Like I mentioned, I use 1 foot and 2 foot pieces of rebar for the top and the shaft, and weld those up. I chisel my ends. MB or the Minnesota brand also chisel theirs. Just helps dig into the brush, helps dig into the dirt or the crusty snow, what have you. The other thing you're going to need is some kind of link at the end that you can either hook your quick link to, hook your swivel to. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy like this. Okay, I got this from the hardware store. Saw them there. It's 1/4 inch. Doesn't have to be that heavy. But I've used everything from leftover 1/4 inch rod. I just bend it and make a loop, weld it on either side of the drag there, and it works just as well. I've also used leftover pieces of chain. I had a couple pieces of chain. I'll weld those on there. They work good too. But I just take this right on the end, weld it solid, and then I can hook a quick link or a lap link or something like that to it and hook my chain to it. So I'm going to go ahead and make one of these up. I'll bend this up. I'll show you my crude bender and how I bend it, and weld this thing up, kind of show you how I do that, and then we'll chisel the ends off. I usually use a grinder, so I won't subject you to that, but I'll grind these down and so they're nice and sharp and dig in. So shut the camera off real quick, get set up, show you what I use to bend this thing, and maybe you'll get a kick out of that. Let me show you what I use as a bender. What I did is I just took a couple of pieces of pipe, welded it onto a receiver hitch, and I just locked that thing in, and I use a piece of 5-foot pipe on that 5/8 inch rebar, and just bend it as I need it. But that's all it is. It's just a couple of pieces of pipe and a hitch. So let me get this camera set up, and we'll bend up a piece of rebar real fast. So what I've done is I've marked this rebar 6 inches from the end, and I'll put that in there and take my piece of pipe and I'll bend it. Now this is a piece of 5-foot 3/4 inch black pipe is all I use. So what I do is make sure I don't hit the camera. So put that in there, bring this around, bring that up tight, get out on this end so I've got some leverage, and bend. And that's actually a little more than 90 degrees, so I like to have mine bent out just a little bit. It seems to grab a little bit better. So that's the first bend right there. And then what I do, same thing, take this, bring it down. So to kind of show you how I get that bend in the hook there. Okay, I don't want these hooks or these bends at the same level. Get this down here where I want it. Okay, so on this side so you can see. So I take this hook right here on this end and I point it down towards the floor, and I'm going to keep this one at a 90-degree straight with the floor there. I like to stick mine like 60 degrees, and I can bend them back the other way if I need to, if it's a little bit too much. Should be. Came out a little bit more, but that's what it's going to look like. But if you have one up, it's about a little over. It's 50, 60 degree bend angle is what I like, and that seems to work really, really well. So, like I said, pretty crude on how to bend it, but it's effective and cheap. So. The more money that you can save doing stuff yourself like this, the more money you can spend on trapping supplies that you need later in the season. So let me get the other stuff, get the welder set up. Now I'll kind of show you how I put the rest of this together. Pretty simple. So let me put you on pause and we'll get you reset up. Okay, I've got the got it set up so that I can start welding it. I'll kind of show you what I do just to get it set up. So what I do is I got this little, it's basically just a sawhorse that I set it up on, and I use this to help keep this piece nice and straight. You'll see how I laid this down, okay? I don't want that. I don't want this even with this. I want it split. Verify that is centered. That's right at 6 inches. And I don't do any fancy welding on this. All I have is some flux core. I'm not using gas on this stuff. I've got a little MIG welder is all I'm using to set this up with. I'm not doing any fancy weld. It's basically just a butt weld. I'm filling any of the gaps with filling or welding material and going from there. So let me get this out a little bit. I'm not blinding you guys, although you guys might be blinded a little bit. There we go. that's that for, like I said, all I do is just butt joint these things. See, that's solid, and it ain't going anywhere. Eat into both the rod and the hook a little bit, or the shaft and the hook a little bit, and that's pretty even as far as centered. So I'm happy about that. Now I'll put the chain guard on there. Do it the same way. I've gone ahead and pre-bent this. Measure out 7 inches, and bend it right at 7 inches. Then put it right on the back side of this. Okay. And I try to center it on here. That's about right. All I'm going to do is do a quick tack on these to hold it in place before I weld it all the way solid. Turn this down just a hair. I'll just weld this link on here. And what I'm doing with this piece of plate is just centering that link in between on that 5/8 inch rebar so I get a better grip on it. And again, I'm going to just tack it. I'm going to quit hitting the button. There you have it. One completed wolf drag. And would that take us? 15-20 minutes. So you can save yourself quite a bit of money building these things yourself. The only thing I got left to do is cut these ends off to chisel them, and this thing will be ready to go. I'll get it cleaned up. I'll boil it once I start boiling traps again here in another month or so that there's no scent on it. Of course, I'll get them hung out. But that's it. That's how simple it is. A few simple tools, real easy to do, Anybody can do it, especially if I can do it. So enjoy your trapping. Get out there, get some of those wolves, help save some of our moose and caribou population, and good luck.